Hello, friends, and welcome to Talking with Famous People. My name is Host Eric, and today we're talking about the worst surprise for each type. It's the same for every type. It's death. No, not really. That wasn't what I was getting at, but maybe. It's the worst surprise of all, I guess. Sudden death. Wait, that totally caught me by surprise, you say after you're dead. Well, I mean, look, what I mean by this title is this. Each configuration is a strategy towards attaining the prime directive of avoiding map territory disagreement. And for ENFPs, map territory disagreement is most painful because in the third slot and the fifth slot, because of the nature of the first and second. So you could say it's a chicken and egg thing. Like the extroverted intuitor is acting on the metaphysical plane, coming up with generating all the possibilities and logically parsing them out, talking a lot, but making sure it's logically sound in order to be sure that they aren't subject to FE failure. In other words, that they don't look bad because the thing they're saying makes sense and is therefore defensible. Of course, it has to not only make sense and be defensible, but it also has to be true. Presumably, if you say words that are both defensible and true, then people will like you, or at least won't be able to critique you. They won't be able to negate you on FE grounds. Now, it doesn't turn out to be the case, and as the ENFP grows and ages, they recognize an increasingly nuanced understanding of it. Well, David Sanderson, I guess I need to definitely go back to the beginning in some sense and break it down from the outset. How do I know what I say is true? It's like this. Is it actually possible for you to discern truth via logical systems, or do you have to rely on intuition and sense of perception alone? Well, remember that truth is not a universal. It's possible to derive subjective or objective depending on the kind of truth you're talking about. In other words, we could both agree that a given statement is true, at which point it's objectively true for the purposes of that discussion. You might adhere to something as being true, and you might not feel the need to justify it at all. That'd be a subjective truth. In this instance, what we're talking about is a little bit more complicated kind of truth. It's the reason things are what they are, and not another way. The reason I'm right, for example, and somebody else is wrong, is because we have a totality of human experience to parse out in taxonomy as we see fit. The appeals in language to various things, that they fall neatly into a set of categories. So for example, if I tell you you need to let go of your past, you're too attached to something that happened before, that you need to process through your past experiences so they don't hold you down, and a bunch of other sort of similar things like that, they represent a class of advice. When we use the word smart, we use it in a couple of different ways. When we talk about things being objectively smart, we're usually talking about TE. So, like, that's a really smart way to do that, the TE thing. Or you did that that's a smart decision you made because of practical implications. When we apply the word smart to individual people, we're usually talking about a different kind of smart. We're saying you're TI smart. Somebody calls me smart. Somebody would say he's smart but doesn't lack street sense. What they're really saying is he's TI but not TE. Now we could taxonomy those differently. We come up with different names for them, but fundamentally they're saying the same thing. Is to the extent that we perceive intelligence as a quality in an individual human being, is TI. To the extent that we see it as being a quality in a thing, is TE, by which I mean simply those who parse with logic, like me, are perceived as smart as people. Those who interface logically in the external world are perceived as doing things intelligently. And the thing is, we don't necessarily use a different word for it, but we use it. It clearly means different things depending on how we're using it. So we can talk about this just simply as a hi, Rachel Apollosa. I had a nice long talk with my dad this morning about your situation and everything, and I will follow up with a phone call to you this evening. I think I tried calling you and you didn't answer earlier. Oh, that's fine. Don't worry about it. No stress, baby. No stress at all, my precious, perfect oyster pearl. Pearl in the oyster of wonder. When we use the word effective, we're generally talking about action types, not TE. So, effectiveness may be a value of TE in the sense that, or efficiency. Efficiency is probably a real value of TE than effectiveness. When we say somebody's effective, we use it in context like this. Well, ain't subtle, but it's effective. That's like an SE kind of thing where we need to remove this thing. Let's talk about how to remove it. Or like what I did up front with the little fence thing. It was old and kind of rotting. Needed to be moved to make way for the wheelchair ramp and the wheelchair. And my dad's like, well, we can remove this. And I just kicked it and it fell off. There you go. It's removed. And that's an SE kind of, well, ain't pretty, but it's effective. Like, you don't need to all a bunch of shit just do it. Or Trump, not very directional, but effective in some way. Like he's effective at kicking the anthill. He's effective at getting things that he wants, sort of. At least he's effective at certainly causing change. So we use effective as basically being what gets results kind of a thing. And so ESPs could also be said as effective, could be called effective, or at least the things they're doing effective by saying like, I could not get through to these people, but I sent Eric to talk to him, and I haven't had any problem since. Yeah, he's effective. Now, I haven't done anything. I just talked to him. That's a different kind of effective. It means I'm successfully either positioning them so they can't really fight against it on TI grounds, or I successfully schmoozed them on FE grounds. Now, when we are talking about FE, normally we'll use words like graceful or awkward. What does it mean to be graceful? What does it mean to be awkward? What does it mean to be to network? Things like that. Well, they mean specific kind of things that distinguish them from other things. If we say, I know, we can mean one of two distinct things. Like someone says, and don't forget to do step 4. You go, I know, I've done this a million times before. Well, from experience, from personal experience, you've internalized the thing as something you do or know. You say, don't forget step 4. I know. I read the instructions. I won't. I'll read the instructions. Or whatever. So that's two different kinds of knowing. And the thing is, we tend to call people who know a lot about the past, like who do a good job of incorporating past information, wise. We do a good job of, we typically call people who do a good job of knowing externally intuitive. Like wow, she's so intuitive, means she knows not from experience. She knows in some other fashion. It's to sort of justify some things. So what I'm saying basically, David Sanderson, is even if you want to ignore all the whole cognitive function thing, there are clear distinctions to be made linguistically between what aspects of human life people can appeal to, or what, and if you take a bunch of words like that, they fit clearly into certain kinds of categories. The fact that when we say effective and we're referring to people's actions, that there's two kinds of actions that can cause effect and be just as effective as other kinds of actions, talking and doing shit, seems indisputable. It's pretty critical that we be able to agree on basic observations. If we can't do that, then nobody's doing any intellectual work at all. And so there's a certain amount of pushback against my approach to this by saying, let's start with some axiomatic observations that are obviously true. When we say, let me think about that, we mean either let me think about that, or let that sit on my intuition for a while. Let me sleep on it. We mean, I'm not sure how I feel about that yet. Or we mean, I need to, like SI reflect. Is this how this is going to link or something? It's usually going to be an NI reason, or an FI reason, or a TI reason why you need to think about this a bit, or an FE reason, which you're lying. You already know no, but you're going to say, let me think about it a bit. You don't want to say no. So the whole point of this is that people prefer some modalities of, or they don't prefer, they just are. They're a configural approach. And so, whereas let's look at INFP. An INFP has a deliberation function first, followed by an action function. And the action deliberation, so we can think of types as being either action deliberation action, interface knowledge, or knowledge interface. Those are the only 4 kinds of types there are. There are 4 knowledge interfaces: SITE, SIFE, NITE, NIFE. There are 4 interface knowledgers. So it's like when we talk about INFP, they are a deliberate actor. They deliberate first, then they act. Deliberation is the frame, carefully about which action to take, because they're not planning on interfacing, they're planning on acting. Now, for an INFP with extroverted intuition and for an INTP with extroverted intuition, that extroverted intuition is as much active on the internal metaphysical plane as it is on the external metaphysical plane. Is extroverted intuition native to the external metaphysical plane? Yes, but it's their tool function in introverts like TI-DOM, FI-DOM. So as a consequence, it's subsumed by the internal fields that FI and TI use. You could say that FI is a function that converts things from the internal metaphysical field to the internal physical field. In other words, it experiences the impact, the emotional impact of things you know, or things you learn, or things you figure out. If you get a phone call, your dog's just been hit by a car and is dead, then you're going to convert those words into FI feeling in your body, crying, and just generally experiencing the physical, non-communicative, that is to say, experiential value of the dog and or the impact of loss. And obviously, that's going to be a very impactful kind of loss, because it's always going to take you by surprise. You went to work, you assume when you get home your dog's going to be there as normal, and whatever thoughts you had about life going forward, they never really involved the dog not being there, because you're very taken for granted the dog was there, etc. And so it's going to be quite a shock to the FI system. Now for FINE, then, what kind of surprises are they trying to avoid? they're trying to avoid TE surprises. That's to say, they're trying to avoid ordinality. Look back at the choices they've made and the course of their life and have mistakes there. Now, that does tend to promote the biggest mistake, in my opinion, of all, which is to fail to make any decisions and not really add any chapters to their book. But for SI third slot people, they want their experiential story to be right. They want their experience to be right. So they want to be comfortable at all times, and they want to not get hungry and stuff like that. It's selfish, but it's important to them. So with NE and FI, what they do is they go, okay, well, first I need to make sure I know what's important to me. Then I need to potentiate all the different ways this could, if I commit to this thing and make it important to me, that it could backfire and hurt me, because I don't want to go to this thing expecting something good and to go a nice story to put in my SI bank, and in other words, like my ego spank bank. So I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to try to potentiate out all the ways this goes wrong, so that I can preempt any such thing from happening. They also don't want surprises in the FE area. So as a consequence, they're FI-NE. What are all the different possible ways this person might feel? If I were in their shoes, how would they feel? So it makes them very FE mistake avoidant. Just like NE potentiates all the different possible ways somebody might say something is not true. So it makes us very falsehood avoidant. Okay, let me address this question. Do you need good rhetorical energy to win a debate at an international level? I don't understand why internationality would impact the debate. Like, yeah, I mean, you think it's like, are you saying the hardest debate to win would be international debates because you're not debating somebody from your own culture, and so you have to win against an international norm? I guess that makes some sense. To me, it doesn't really matter what country the person I'm debating from is. I will wipe the floor with them. So my level of debating goes from top notch to God mode, depending on my level of energy and enthusiasm and interest. MBTI seems to inhabit this weird space where people aren't really sure where it exists on the discernible pop psychology and an accurate categorization of human cognition. This uncertainty makes observations of certain types difficult, as it seems to the pre-work hasn't adequately been done yet. The misinformation is that only TI people are really going to fully understand why it is that my approach is preferable. I could get TE people on board if I hammer the sim point. Like, well, we can simulate this and test it that way. But, ultimately it's something that's intuited, and it has a lot of definitional aspects to it that are supported by reality, but in ways that aren't necessarily conventionally upheld. And since most practitioners of MBTI aren't good rhetoricians and logicians and case builders, they don't know. They don't know what to do with it, and it's as though you have a bunch of people. Well, it's the same thing they do with every other aspect of psychology. People use psychology words willy-nilly, call people narcissists, yada, yada, yada. And that's what they're doing out of sort of, I guess, treatment kind of psychology. And now what they're doing out of, what are they doing? What do people do with what I would call explanatory or model psychology? Well, the same sort of half-assery they do with everything else. They will use it for their own purposes. This idea is good for convincing myself that I'm really smart and clever because I'm an EHP, and I'm actually an ESFP. Well, they're using it for their own purposes. And at least ESFPs get the fact that, who cares? I'm using whatever for my own purposes, and F you if you think it's wrong. Of intuition. It's just unavoidable. It's like you can know all this, But if you're not doing the metacognitive work, if you're not sort of intellectually restless, I didn't. Back when I couldn't falsify it at all, I just said it was a taxonomy and it wasn't a model. Once I worked out the directionality, I mean, it's still not really a model. I'm saying now it's modelable. If you got 4 fields, you got information directionality, and you got subject-object positioning as the mechanical constraints on the information flow in the system. And then, but really there's a third level of positioning. You either act as an agent, act as a subject, or act as an object. If an agent from another person, another person's, it's right there. I just, it's like somebody else is gonna have to put it all together. I don't know. I'm just not that TI heavy, really. It's a lot of thinking that I have to do if I were gonna really try to put it all together. I've already done a lot of thinking on this shit. It's like this is a point where its utility to me is fully realized. And so it may not be entirely useful as a universal tool, but its utility to me is realized because it's only really useful to me as a thing to talk about on the internet and as a tool I use in understanding myself and other people around me. Okay, well, I don't know why it's buffering. The internet's fine, but who knows? I don't know what's going on. Got any ideas on it? Of course, likely to be impossible to say only based on this. If you're definitely TI, then you could also be, all right, Rachel, I'll rip this right now. You could also be ESTP. You should consider that. You're probably not ISTP because already you're showing more. On the other hand, it could be this, which is typically in anything. So more likely ENTP, INTP, or ESTP. If you relate more to ENTP but appear more like INTP, you're saying you're not a particularly gregarious. Transubstantiate her pipette to me. Okay, here we go. I transubstantiate thee. So I guess you could say that the biggest fear for the INFP is to have to live with a massive loss in their life because that was realized because of some terrible social mistake. That'd be the single greatest fear of the INFP. Okay, and we can do this for each type. So I'm going to go down this thing right now, Ethan McDonald. I don't know. I've talked to you about your type so many times. It's pretty obvious at this point. If you want further insight in the matter, you're going to need to schedule something with me. So, okay. Just having to live with that loss, and that loss happening because of some social failure on their part. Now, let's do INTP as an example, as an exception, or the alternative to this. So INTP, their biggest fear would also be SI, but it would be, their biggest fear would be the memory of having been wrong, probably publicly with the 4th slot FE. And I guess you could add on there with the INFP, you could say loss of something precious because of bad TE and FE, because of bad interface. Loss of something precious because of bad interface. INTP, their greatest fear is having to live with a public wrongness because it didn't make external logical sense. Being embarrassed by being wrong and having to remember that and live with that, that's their biggest nightmare. That's what they're trying to avoid. So how do you avoid being publicly wrong? you make sure you've deliberated the shit out of everything, right? And then you won't be publicly wrong. And they're going to assume that if they're publicly wrong and being publicly, they're going to experience the consequences of public wrongness and FE, but they're going to have been guilty of public wrongness, most likely because of a TE failure, which would be their worst nightmare. Fail to validate on TE and fail to have deliberated out enough, state publicly their position, be proved wrong, be taunted as wrong while they're on the stage, and have to live with that memory for the rest of their life. Okay, so while I'm going down them one at a time, Dawson K, I'm going down them one at a time. Skeptics are fine if they actually do their research rather than just dismiss it and ignore any arguments. Exactly. People who purport themselves to be skeptics, who just sort of dump on shit as pseudoscience or whatever without even giving it any consideration or making any arguments, those are, if you deliberate too much, you run the risk of coming up as staged. Well, sure. But the thing is, if you remember what the key fear of the INFP is that they're avoiding, then it makes sense that they deliberate shit out. They know they can fail on TE or FE, so they deliberate shit out very carefully with TI, all the possibilities with NE, to make sure ultimately that they remember good memories. And then they also have to make sure FI serves TI. So feelings come into the mix to make sure it's double deliberated, yada, yada, yada. And at the end of the day, what does that mean? SE polar. That person just when you get people who talk about that fit MC thing, just hide the user on the channel. I don't know who these people are or what they're talking about. ENTP's biggest fear, perceived as an embarrassment. So because we don't want to be embarrassed publicly and don't want to be perceived as an embarrassment or perceived badly, the ENTP is an external actor who parses things with introverted thinking. The external action being talking, not actual acting. So the ENTP does the following thing. They potentiate out all the possibilities, check them all with their logical TI, and they do so because they want to validate on 5 and 3. So in order to validate on 5 and 3, they use TI, NE, and SI to check things. They hope that if they've come up with all the possibilities, TI'd it with all the TI, and applied all their SI knowledge to it to double check it, that it's going to be safe and it's going to validate on 5 NI and 3 FE. We assume we're going to validate on 5 because we're doing all the work in those 3 other areas first. So surely we're going to validate on NI. It's going to be true if it resonates with our experience, if it's logically checked out, and I've covered all the possibilities. I haven't failed to think of something. I haven't failed to account for something. Now, in reality, it doesn't always validate on FE, but then that's why we have conscious FE, because we can remember, okay, don't forget to include some of this stuff too. And that's what you call permeable. It's like FE can be added on in the 3rd slot to those other calculations without being other calculations, without running afoul of them. It can be added on afterwards. Like, you don't have to go back and go, oh shit, we got to recalculate. We forgot about FE. It doesn't work like that. You can add some on if your FE, if it's not validated on your 3rd slot. So it would seem to me that ultimately, really, the most important slot for every human being to validate on is their 5th. Because if after I've accounted for all the possibilities, I've made sure what I'm saying is logically correct, I've checked against my own experience to make sure it resonates with what I know from experience, and then if it fails on an FE ground at that point, I can toss in a little extra FE on top, then it goddamn better validate on NI as true. You know? Of course, with all that effort, what am I necessarily blind to is how much I value a given thing. After all, I'm checking all the possibilities, so I'm not focusing on the possibilities more interesting to me. I'm taking a disinterested calculus in parsing out if what I'm saying is consistent or not. I'm checking with my own experience to make sure it's resonant there too. Just another double check to maybe my own experience reveals that some counterexamples. It's sort of a supplement to TI, you know. And then if I'm smart, I'm tossing in some FE too, so it better resonate on NI. It doesn't always though, because NI is holistic and doesn't matter how many different ways you parse it out. Fidge coal. Lero fidge coal. All right, so that was ENTPs. ESTPs, in contrast, are very similar, but different. So ESTPs, they have a third slot validation of FE, same as the ENTPs, but their fifth slot is SI, same as the INTPs. And so, hi, Winston's mom. I do, thanks. Wow, I'm trying to be super professional. I'm so professional. Let me pull this bong rip. I need to reward myself for my professionalism by pulling this bong rip. Then I'll get back to ESTP. No, I wouldn't say that NFPs are more ideationally restricted than NTPs because of FI. I would say that it's constrained on the different side of the thing. So it's constrained the same either way. It's just constrained. A different chunk of stuff is constrained. So, like, let's do ENFP. Let me go finish ESTP first. So, if we think about the fifth slot as being the ultimate validator for ESTP is their own experience. They want to have cool stories to tell about themselves. They want to have cool experiences. They want to have, like, I don't think Taylor likes being in jail, but I think Taylor likes having been in jail. If you see what I'm saying, he enjoys the story that goes along with that. Or at least he's come to. He's always been a bad boy. He was a bad boy before he went to jail. And there's not really actually, I thought it was funny, Winston's mom, because I thought you were hammering on the fact that I'm hyper unprofessional. So you're saying like, here's some objectively false validation. I mean, you did say I sounded professional. That's nice. No, I don't generally respond to that kind of exactly FE. I don't know. I enjoyed seeing. I was happy to see you here. Once I noted you were here, saw your name. It did make me have a brief experience of positive feelings. Oh, good, Winston's mom's here. It's like I see you as these blocks of text that I sometimes read, and you sometimes have punctuation, and like some things you say to me, I actually do feel a lot of like juice from. For example, there was one time you told me that you had looked around for other music, trying to find other music like mine, and couldn't find anything like it. That was something you told me that made me feel good. I liked that a lot. If you want to make ENTP generally feel good, you should go, tell them and say, listen, I've never met anybody like you before. You are so different. You're a totally unique person. And I don't have anybody to compare you to. Some people, when they try to, when they listen to my music, their comments are, they want to link to it, I guess, as a way of discussing it, perfectly reasonable thing to do. So they'll say like, well, this kind of sounds like nah, it kind of sounds like nah. And I get that that's a totally legitimate thing to do with music, but I I don't like it. I don't like when people say that, even if it's true. I guess especially if it's true. They don't say it very often. You know, I don't hear that very much, that I sound like this or that. I got, and when I do, it's wrong. It's not that I sound anything like the thing. It's that the song is archetypally similar to something that's archetypally similar to that thing, that the thing that they do, you know? So, yeah, you did throw me off. I can't remember it there. What's his mom? All right, so what was I talking about? Oh, yeah. Biggest fear or biggest thing you're trying to avoid, basically. So, nightmare surprise. So, the nightmare surprise for the ESTP is that he has to put in his memory bank a big social failure. It's interestingly this more or less the same as I guess for INTP it would be the worst possible thing is to put in their memory bank some sort of failure of ordinality. Like TE is basically about order of operations. It's about preventative medicine, and it's about planning and stuff like that. So a big failure of self via planning would be a nightmare for an IHP. You know, obviously, when you have an extroverted force thought function, like extroverted feeling, you're susceptible to a lot of FE manipulation. And so the failure is more likely to actually come from that. It's more likely to, you're more likely to not validate there, but you'd see that presumably as a failure of efficiency in some regard. I'm not sure. I just think that went out a little bit more. It would seem like INTP and ESTP have almost the same exact values, except just totally different ways. Well, not totally, partially different ways of getting there. So, for example, ESTP value FESI. It seems like INTPs value FESI. Now, they do value TE, and I've seen it plenty in INTPs as an implicit value. If you do something in a dumb way near an INTP, you will drive them insane. Like, you know, if I'm trying to hang something on a wall on a hook and trying to, like, you know, I'm just doing some dumbass way, like, well, maybe if I just hook this kind of here, I could just sort of, I put a little tape here, and INTP will go, oh my God, get out of the way. Get out of my way. If you want to compel SE from a INTP, do something incredibly dumb and inefficiently in front of them, and they will intervene. It's a good test for an INTP. All you got to do is do some sort of physical systems task in front of an INTP with them watching you. Do it in an incredibly dumb way, and watch them go, what are you doing? Any INTPs out there want to give me a what? That's what happens. So, you don't think so? Lobo for Rose, are you an INTP? Have you ever had somebody try to do something on the computer in front of you, and you're standing behind them watching them do it and trying to tell them how to do it? Okay, so you don't have to rage. That's what you're doing internally. You might actually be very polite about it because of the FE. Internally, that's what you're doing. Externally, you might be like, can I, I'm sorry, Joe, I'm sorry, Joe, can I just, you might be like that. But it's like the worst one. You want to see, put an INTP into hell, have them stand behind somebody, have them stand behind an ISFJ who's on the computer, and try to explain verbally to her what to do task-wise on the computer. Oh my God, that would drive me crazy too, but I don't think an ISP would last 5 seconds doing that. You know, that is a very much a TE kind of talking. That's where TE and TI sort of cross over, is when I'm explaining something that's conceptual, it's TI. When I'm explaining something that's ordinal, it's TE. FI is very stubborn, yes. Well, from a TI perspective, FI is very stubborn. Now, I'm leaning toward the idea of me being an INFP because I used to be extremely sensitive and was afraid of confrontation when I was younger. Well, I mean, ENTPs are really sensitive, so I don't think that has to necessarily do with that shit. Oh, yeah, that's ridiculous. Most athletes are not ESTP. That's incorrect. I think, frankly, I think ISTJs, ISTPs are both more natively inclined to sports than ESTPs, because ESTPs, ESTJs for sure. ESTJs they get and NTJs, ENTJs and ESTJs, because ENTJs and ENFJs have SC as a third slot, so they have to validate on that. So let's do that. It's like, let's talk about one of them. Let's talk about ENFJ. ENFJ, they have an interface function first, FE, as their frame. They've got a knowledge function as their tool, NI. So basically, they make sure foremost that they are interfacing with the social modalities of the world in ways that are universally true, so that they don't fail to attain external impacts. In other words, the risk of being an FE dom is you're all fluff, no substance. Okay. With NI, archetypal truth, so to speak, you are sort of especially prone to that phenomenon, because you could just be practicing and not, you could just be preaching and never practicing what you preach, kind of thing. It's a good idea for everyone to exercise, but you're not personally exercising. If you're an ENFJ with 4-slot TI, that's the sort of thing that's likely to sneak up on you as you start talking about universal truths that don't apply to you because you're not paying any attention to your experiential truths that you experience, So, where are they concerned about validating? Well, first of all, FI, they need to make sure that they get theirs, that what they want is prioritized, that what's important to them is what's important to what ends up happening. They also want to make sure that they don't lose people because they forgot to put themselves in their shoes. So that's two phenomena of FI. What's one of this solutions then is you end up validating on SE, because if there's not enough SE in your FE-NI, it's something you can add after the fact, like my FE, right? So let's say simply schmoozing with universal truths that resonate with the person. So having universal truths means you're more likely to resonate with whomever it is you're schmoozing with, because you're appealing to things that everybody understands, that are archetypal, that are implicit to human existence, and therefore are going to find purchase on every person. But one of the problems can be that if that doesn't adequately do enough to close the deal, to SE, to pull the trigger on the thing, whatever it is, to accomplish the impact, then you're able to sprinkle extra doing shit on as the automatic solution for that. The 4-5, they've got TI in the fourth. that means they're going to, in a pinch, try to parse it out logically. But I mean, note that it's like, it's an after, well, that occurs after they've done things already. So it's more like trying to defend themselves after the fact. They go, schmooze with the truth. See, I'm doing some shit. See, demonstrate it, and then go, well, what do you mean? That was fine for me to do that. Here's some reasons. Now, if in fact their reasons don't work, then FI, they've got potentially the opportunity to lose something in their most valuable slot, which is say either lose somebody that they find very important to them, or I guess that's it. Yeah. And so it's like everything is in place to try to protect against that loss in the fifth slot. So the worst nightmare for an ENFJ would be to for them to, for a lie they publicly said, to prevent them from doing what they need to do to keep what's important to them. A public lie prevents them from doing the thing they need to do to keep what's important to them. Now, what's important to them a lot of times is their reputation and stuff, because they're FE doms. So they do things like run, like, ENTJs will run marathons, triathlons, and shit like that, which is sort of status symbols that they like. ENFJs possibly too, but ENFJs will be on a speaker circuit or something like that and give a lot of conferences and doing shit like that, because, and getting awards, getting titles. ENFJs like to get a title. I'm vice president. You're just a salesman. My title, though, is vice president, and that's important. Is it? Yes, because that determines what everybody thinks about you. Oh, you're okay. Well, that doesn't determine what I think about you, obviously, because I pointed out that you're not vice president. You're a salesman. That's not my title. Yeah, I know, but that's what you do. My title, though, is vice president. Okay, ENFJ, that's fine. All right, that is very important. You're right. I'm sure a lot of people are impressed by that. I remember one of the first times I hung with Nick, he said, I want to show you guys something. It was me and somebody else. We were sitting there, and I was in the room, he was in the room, and somebody else. He said, try this, do this. Try Googling world's greatest salesperson or something like that. There's some particular like 3-word expression like that. It was pretty common. They're Googling it. And lo and behold, in fact, first result on Google was him, Nick. And so we tried it. We Googled it, like you said. We saw it. And I was like, I clicked on the thing. It was like his sort of sell himself as a salesman page or whatever. And I looked at it and I was like, okay, so, okay, cool. That's cool. Or, I don't know. I said whatever. But what I think was interesting is then after we both looked at it, he said, okay, so see, for example, you're impressed by it. Joe, you're impressed by this thing. Eric, you're not impressed by this. That kind of impressed me a little bit. It was like, huh, yeah, you're right. I am not impressed by that at all. I guess I don't hide that. So I should have known right then he was an FE Dom. I should have known right then he was an ENFJ. But I didn't know enough about cognitive functions back then. An INFJ might dislike TE Doms. All right, that's kind of true. I would not say it's naturally the case that we dislike others when they use our polar as their dominant. I don't dislike INFPs and I don't dislike ISFPs. I think it is the case that INFJs dislike both ENTJs and ESTJs. And I think basically it has to do with values. So FI doesn't run afoul of my of a TI on a value level in the same way that FE and TE run afoul of each other on a value level. Especially the NIFE thing is extraordinarily contradictory to the TE approach to people. So it's like TE people will attempt to structure things to incentivize or disincentivize. And INFJs will always find that to be leverage and to find it to be basically ontological rape. It's like they don't like to be leveraged at all. The notion that it would be okay to prioritize outcomes over people processes to them is appalling, and failing to see an adequately large frame. Can fifth and sixth slot functions seem valued even if they aren't? Well, they are valued. They are totally valued, Ethan. Fifth slot is what I'm saying the most absolute value in the whole stack, and sixth is countervalued. So, when socionics say something, if a function is either valued or not valued, or something like that, I think they say something like that. That's incorrect. That's a misunderstanding of values. That's not how values work. You can't have the absence of a value. You have you relate to it via some value approach, either absolute, instrumental, countervalued, to say like I actively dislike that thing. And because you have two aspects to each function, you have an experiential aspect to it and a metaphysical aspect to it. And that's true for both metaphysical and physical functions. So it gets kind of complicated. Yeah, you're right, Rachel. My dad is a wonderful ESTJ, and he doesn't like doing that either. He seems to be, my dad seems to prioritize the SIFI angles of being when it comes to his understanding of people. He gets that everybody has their own experiences, and he gets that he's got sort of the negative rights or the ownership logic. He affords people the legitimate ground for the aspects of their self that they own. He always says, "Wow, you're a full-grown adult. Do what you want." I'm not going to tell you what to do. That sort of stuff. Now, he's frustrated, in fact, when he needs to use any sort of leverage with me. He doesn't want to, for sure. Occasionally, he has to, because I'm mean, and I just, despite myself, can't seem to help pushing up to see where the boundaries are. Okay. Your facial hair looks good today. Tomorrow it grows puby. My facial hair looks good today. Tomorrow it grows puby. And then, of course, I'll shave away those hairs so bright and ruby. My facial hair looks good today. Tomorrow it gets puby. And so, of course, I'll shave away those golden hairs so ruby. No, I haven't talked about all the types yet. Thank you for getting me back on. Thank you for getting me back on point. Which type do we do next? Who wants me to call out a type you want me to do? And I'll do that type with my little shoe. Short Fat Otaku has been making real good points lately on things such as coronavirus and socialism. Good for him. INTJ it is. All right, so your INTJ has NI as a universal knowledge function as a frame. They've got TE, that is to say, ordinality as a tool function. And they've got FI as the third function. The fifth slot function is TI. So what's the worst nightmare for an ENTJ? The worst nightmare for an ENTJ would be Okay, so it would be to mess up the ordinality of a thing. For example, to forget that you had to insert to like construct something with forgetting that you need to build the foundation first until they've gotten it halfway built. Okay, so like fucking up in that fashion, like, oh shit, I can't believe we have to undo all of this stuff and start over again because I forgot to put the mya in, right? So that's a scenario here. The worst nightmare is for that to happen in a way that costs them what they personally value a lot because they fail to consider matters of consistency and argumentational defensibility, or in a way that makes that is indefensible logically. So I guess that's their worst nightmare, and I'll repeat it again because it's hard to work this shit out. But their fourth slot function, of course, is SE. So it's worth noting they can sprinkle in more valuing, but that's not going to help them. That doesn't work that way. You got to kind of factor in the extroversion, introversion thing when trying to determine whether, like, how to frame this thing. But regardless, it's going to be like they know they know how to do something and they do it. And then if they're not really getting enough doing out of it, like, oh, come on, then they remember how important it is to them, and it makes them do some more. And so finally, yeah, okay, great. Except what happens? They fail on the FI level. They fail to do the thing that has to be done to save this, and they can't defend their behavior on TI grounds, or it creates a TI indefensible situation, or because they fail to account for TI in the first place. That would be the nightmare. I guess it would be losing someone you love because of your illogicalness. That's another way to put it. Simply, put it more simply. Okay. After INTJ, I believe we're going to ENTJ. So a worst nightmare for an ENTJ would be being unable to do what you want because you didn't notice the logical contradiction. So like, okay, well, here, this would be a logical contradiction that this would not be a perfect example of it, but so one thing that I hadn't realized with a possible line of attack that Harvard Westlake got my kid on in one of the rounds was if you misunderstand the way the whole thing works, it would appear that the case my kid has, that it creates cognitive dissonance while at the same time relieving it. So in other words, that the mechanism to relieve the cognitive dissonance that produces our impacts then creates cognitive dissonance in another way. It's not actually like that, but that's what it appears to be. And so he lost that round. And if in fact it were the case that I had missed some sort of fundamental logical disconnect and went back and realized this is all smoke and mirrors. The whole thing falls apart now because I didn't realize this core, hugely important thing. In fact, it's been the other way around. It's been like, my whole point along the time is if we don't deal with it like this, the whole resolution falls apart. And in fact, it does. And I'm right. But that's the way that NI shit works. And that's the way that TI interfaces with NI. It's like, if it were the fact that, like my opponent's cases, they were running this basic notion that you can fiat the outcome. But that's not how to interpret the resolution. I get a phone call. Oh, here it is. Who's calling me? I'll call her at this hour. What time is it? Oh, that was just one. Let me call her. I might have to go to work, but I'm gonna have to dinner with my dad though.
Hello?
Hi, did you just call? Skip today? Yeah, yeah, give him a break. We had plenty of debate this weekend. Yeah, sure. Yeah, Monday, Tuesday, something like that is fine. Wednesday, fine, whatever. Whenever. Yeah, not today, but any day other than today is fine. Okay, coolio. Hello. Yeah, I said cool. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I heard enough to know what happened. He did something really dumb, but sort of understandable. But I guess it's the thing is, I hadn't. I guess Harvard. You could say Harvard Westlake outcoached me because what happens is I hadn't heard prior to Outrounds Harvard Westlake running anything but a holistic elimination of weapons, and then in the quarterfinals they did something really squirrely. They ran a brazenly non-topical counter plan as the affirmation. Okay, and I had prepped him out for what to do with if they went with that whole I eliminate forever. You can't do anything. The whole shit they were doing. I had a whole set of arguments prepped out for it. Now he was smart enough to realize it didn't work anymore really on this because he wasn't doing that. So this wasn't going to work. But he tried to split the difference. So he answered the guy's actual case, and then he tried to use the thing I had made for him anyway. He tried to shoehorn it in there. Now I guess technically it could have been shoehorned in the way he tried to shoehorn it in, but it only served to make the whole thing a confusing mess. He was a sloppy mess on the flow because he was trying to run this pseudo K that wasn't appropriate, and it was just he didn't. Yeah, he didn't debate the round in front of him. He debated the round we had prepped before the round. Yeah. No, I mean, it's not his fault. Listen, it's a good thing. It's a good experience we had there, okay? Because all of this stuff, the slabs themselves, I am quite convinced of it, have conjoined to teach us certain very specific lessons to prepare us for TSC. We're debating the same goddamn topic. We've debated it so much. I've never debated a topic so much before. And it's a good one to debate that much because it's a deep topic. And he's going to understand it better than any other debater at TSC. By the time he gets there, we're going to have a very good, legitimate fighting chance at winning the thing. Yeah, well, go ahead. Sorry. Those are high school kids, though. Those are high school kids. I mean, I think that, I mean, I don't know why you would conclude that. I mean, look, can Jeffrey beat those kids? Yeah, easily. He did. He beat in the sixth preliminary round. In the sixth preliminary round, he was 3-2, and he beat the undefeated, I guess, top seed from Harvard Westlake. I said in the sixth round, when Jeffrey was 3-2, he beat the undefeated Harvard Westlake top seed. So the top novice on the Harvard Westlake team got defeated in the sixth round by eighth grade Jeffrey. Yeah, keep that in mind. Okay, that it's not like Harvard Westlake's bulletproof. Jeffrey beat their top seed in the sixth round. He was undefeated. Jeffrey was 3-2 at the time, or she, I don't know, he or she, whatever gender she was, and he won that round. So can Jeffrey hang with those people? Absolutely. Already he can. And the fact that they won had something to do in that last round also with the fact that they had a policy. We had a straight up hardcore policy judges, 3 of them, like as hardcore as you can get. And what did Harvard Westlake novice run? He'd run an argument that required us to have, if we wanted to be technically correct with full-scale policy judges, a T shell, namely a topicality shell. I didn't have him prepped out for a topicality shell. So, and that's what I mean by I got outcoached. But that's good. I'm glad I got outcoached in that instance because it makes clear to me that I need to prep out those things with proper policy shells for everything. I have to treat it like policy, you know? So we'll have shells we'll have T blocks with a shell, and every kind of like theory voter needs to have a shell like that. So we'll have that prepped out accordingly for TOC. It's not something I would have expected to happen, but basically he made the right arguments, but he didn't present them in the proper shell, and so they didn't vote for him. Even though he said it was non-topical and everything, and it should have been a voter. That's all he needed to say. This is non-topical. This is not affirmative resolution. This is ridiculous. Vote for me and sit down. And that should have been the round, frankly. But that's not how policy judges see the thing. All right. Well, we can talk. We can talk when it comes to. I can hang around for another 15 minutes or whatever off the clock, and we can chat either before or after Chloe. Yeah, cool. I will. I'll check my phone for messages. Thanks. All right. Bye. Bye. Oh, I really like those people. They remind me of niceness. Yeah, I know. She was cutting in and out on the phone. She was having connectivity problems with me on the phone call. So that annoys me. When I have to repeat myself, I hate having to repeat myself. That annoys me. They are so nice. They are. They're great. I like, and what I like about it is there's a lot of respect implicit in how much they all right, you want me to go into that? There's a lot of respect implicit in how they deal with me, which I appreciate. I really, it's not like differential at all. It's just basically I respect them and their opinion. So the fact that they have a high opinion of me makes me feel good. So how did he flip cognitive dissonance on? So basically, what I'm saying is, in the case that what we're saying is that the United States currently is a bully that's attempting to force the bully's victim to willingly, quote unquote, negotiate the terms of how the victim will be bullied to legitimize the bully's behavior. That's what the U.S. is doing in terms of their negotiations with Iran on the nuclear weapons. The only way we can the reason we can only meaningfully describe it as such is because it's entirely lawless. There's no international law that says Iran can't get nuclear weapons. It's just the U.S. doesn't want them to. And so there's no international law about nuclear weapons at all regarding whether or not they're legal, illegal, there's a non-proliferation treaty. But, to the extent that non-nuclear states sign the Non-Proliferation Treaty, they're saying, I agree to not get nuclear weapons, even though legally there's no other thing prohibiting me than this. And if you don't sign the treaty, then presumably you retain the right to get nuclear weapons. So anyway, what I'm saying is we're never going to have any meaningful negotiations with Iran because they're not negotiations. I mean, that's not a negotiation. The U.S. says, man. That's not a negotiation. It creates cognitive dissonance. It's never going to resolve anything. It's just going to escalate shit because how can Iran, what Iranian is going to support? I really support the bullies negotiated settlement with us. It's like, oh boy, hey, did you forget? We're giving our lunch money to the bully. You can't spend that on this thing here. We Iranians owe it to the bully to give them our lunch money because we negotiated a settlement by which we would at gunpoint. So, it's insane, right? It's fucking insane. Anyway, we also, in my app, though, we point out that passing this law, international law, or in other words, adopting the TPNW, the Treaty for the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons, which is a fiating all the states signing it, basically, will in fact change the way we talk about nuclear weapons and make negotiations with Iran possible, or at least maybe unnecessary, right? Okay, well, now they're illegal internationally, so you have to stop getting them. And, well, that's fine, U.S., but you have to start getting rid of yours. Okay, we're going to get rid of ours. We're getting rid of ours, too. We're going to obey the international law, too. It's just going to take us 400 years to get rid of them, but that's fine. We're going to get rid of them slowly but surely. And so is China and so is Russia. I mean, that if you want to actually make here's a simple way that they could change the conversation about nuclear weapons without meaningfully changing the status quo. Simply say, nuclear weapons, according to international law, are illegal. Those who currently have them have an indefinite time frame to get rid of the ones they have, but the total number must always go down. So if you have 10 nuclear weapons now, you need to slowly get rid of them. So at some point, you need to get rid of one, and then you have 9. And then from that point forward, you can't go back to 10. You can't make another one. Like that. If that were the international law, pretty much any country would be sort of probably willing to sign on to that. Or at least it's not impossible to consider signing on to it because they can hold on to their nuclear weapons for as long as they want. It gives at least some legitimacy to countries telling somebody like Iran, you can't get nuclear weapons. And it relieves some of the cognitive dissonance. Is it fair? No, but it's a lot less unfair than the status quo. Regardless, that's not what I'm advocating for. But my point is that by making things have some logical sense, that will make it possible for Iran and the U.S. to talk about, or somebody to talk to Iran about not getting nuclear weapons. The opponent said this, yeah, but in your post-AF world, in the AF world, you are retaining nuclear weapons, right? And I'm saying, and my kid says, well, yeah, I mean, just because you make them illegal doesn't mean they'll disappear. And obviously there are going to be some people secreting away a few weapons. They're going to keep those for deterrence. Just as we have made bio and chem illegal, some people secreted away a few biological weapons, but the total amount is much smaller and there's much less impetus or effort towards making new ones by people. It's done in the dark corners, hidden a little bit here and there, maybe because it's criminal now rather than illegal. So the opponent said, well, doesn't that create cognitive dissonance? And my kid got flustered by the question, didn't know what to do with it. Because it makes it sound like, well, it's a wash then. You relieve cognitive dissonance over here, but you create cognitive dissonance over here. Now, who else can tell me what's wrong with that critique of my argument? The cognitive dissonance turn. The cognitive dissonance turn is not a good argument. There's something wrong with it. I mean, it's a great argument strategically, but it's not correct. What's wrong with it? Why is it not correct? Can anybody else explain it to me? where you, if nobody even cares, there's everybody talking about other shit right now. Then I'll just explain it. But if anybody wants to take a stab at explaining it, you're welcome to. Why is it bullshit that prohibiting nuclear weapons for everybody, making them illegal for everybody, and impacting the fact that some people retain nuclear weapons anyway, even though they're illegal, and that solving the Iran-U.S. negotiations problem by relieving cognitive dissonance, and the fact that some people retaining nuclear weapons will create cognitive dissonance because it's illegal. Why is that not a turn? What's wrong with it? Anybody know? Anybody want to think it out, talk it out, feel it out, touch it out with your member? You want to plump your bulge? Anybody want to plump your bulge? Well, I will tell you then. I'm going to just go ahead and explain it then. I'll explain it. I could totally write like you know how they have that thing? No, with his mom. I'm saying the turn on the cognitive dissonance argument is this. I'm arguing by making it illegal for everybody that it will relieve cognitive dissonance. The opponent's conceding that it relieves cognitive dissonance, but says, however, you'll create cognitive dissonance when, after it's illegal, not everybody follows the law. So it's a wash. What's wrong with that argument? Okay, so I'm going to explain this now. And hopefully it's revelatory to people about how argumentation works in general. So the problem with no. The argument is one. I'm talking about the mechanics of argumentation here. Basically, it doesn't matter what you put in there. I'm saying that problem X is caused by vector Y. That my action A, by changing or impacting vector Y, causes relieves problem X. Problem X is relieved. Vector Y is the reason for problem X. I act upon vector Y and relieve problem X. And he's saying, yeah, but your action upon problem Y, your action upon vector Y that relieves problem X creates vector Y on the other end and causes problem Z. But see, they don't say and causes problem Z, though. They say creates it on the other end. So it's like what I'm saying here is the reason Iran-US problem is cognitive dissonance. International law relieves cognitive dissonance, thereby solves Iran-US problem. And he said, but the creation of the law, which necessarily results in some law breaking occurring here and there, creates cognitive dissonance because of the law breaking. And therefore, whatever gain you get on this end, you lose back again on this end. So that's the turn that's made by the opponent. That because this is cognitive dissonance is caused by lawlessness. Passing a law solves cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance causes the Iran-US problem. Solving cognitive dissonance solves the US-Iran problem. But passing a law creates an opportunity for more lawlessness because people will break the law and that will cause more cognitive dissonance. You see, that's their argument, okay? I'll explain to you what's wrong with it in a second here. So what's wrong with it is cognitive dissonance is the mechanism by which both it's possible to have Iran legally constrained to zero nuclear weapons without it being a problem. So because there's no law, international law, that makes it the same for everybody, it creates cognitive dissonance. And so it's not okay, so to speak, for Iran to be forced to keep zero nuclear weapons. But I mean, if you're going to force them, it's going to create a lot of problems, a lot of heat and energy and upsettedness, right? So passing a law does, in fact, make it not cognitive dissonant to have that negotiation now. However, we're saying in our app as well that because not every nation is going to follow that law, not all nuclear weapons are going to instantly disappear. Even though it's illegal, it doesn't mean all nuclear weapons instantly disappear. And so some of those people will retain some of those nuclear weapons. And so we'll get to retain the deterrent impact of people having nuclear weapons. There'll still be a nuclear deterrence. So the opponent said, yeah, but in breaking those laws and retaining those weapons, they create cognitive dissonance. Well, so what's wrong with the argument is that the cognitive dissonance between Iran and the US is created by a lawless world, a Wild West, in which there is no international law about it, and might makes right. The big bully US gets to tell Iran what to do, not without any legal justification at all. Passing a law, obviously, creates less lawlessness, and it's no longer so much the Wild West, and it's no longer might makes right or whatever. So, but there will still be some lawlessness, and those instances of lawlessness will still create cognitive dissonance. So what they're trying to do is saying correctly constraining illegality, fundamentally unjust lawlessness by law reduces cognitive dissonance, but doesn't eliminate it, because obviously there will still be law breaking. It's just it won't be structurally, tacitly permitted. Right now, since there's no law at all about it, the U.S. can't be accused of breaking any law either. And as a consequence, it's might makes right. Might makes right is the ultimate structured injustice. Namely, arguments don't matter. SE over NETI, SEFI over NETI is evil on a societal level, because, of course, SEFI aren't functions that resonate universally or are intended to do what they do universally. SE impacts locally on whatever is impacting on. FI experiences locally. It's you experiencing the weight and value of something. TE logics locally. Here's a specific problem. Fix this chair. A particular problem. SI knows locally. I know because of what I experienced. All the other ones do those things globally. So if you're approaching the global with the modalities that are implicit to the local, you end up manifesting evil. What do you end up manifesting? Evil. Yes, that's right. If you're bringing your FISE into the universal realm of the societal norm, you are guilty of evil. Evil. Evil, I say. Bernie's hit millionaires, now he's moved on to blaming the billionaires. That's good. I mean, look, if you're gonna try to single out a subset of people for persecution, billionaires is about as small a group of people as you could single out. It's still not okay, but at least it impacts fewer people. I mean, I have no problem if I'm president and somebody wants to raise taxes on those earning, on those with a net worth of over $1 billion or something. You know, okay, I'm willing to sign that. Fine. You know, is it fair to single them out? They already pay so much taxes, but I have to pay more. Blah, blah, blah. No, it's not fair. But if I have to sacrifice fairness to some group at all, I have to make some compromises. Well, billionaires, I guess, would suffer comparatively less than other types of other individual people, right? From a utilitarian mitigation of impacts kind of perspective, if I gotta unjustly harm somebody, it might as well be billionaires. No, I'm sorry, billionaires. I'm sorry. Look, I'm not picking on you. I'm not blaming you for anything. I get it. You're not taking more than your fair share of the money. You create all the wealth and put it into the world that you are then naturally entitled to gather together. That's totally fine. I would encourage that. I'd like to, you know what I would like to do is change banking laws such that it's easier for people to avoid their taxes and avoid accountability for their financial affairs. That would be good. Make it legal for you to hide money offshore and avoid the IRS, whatever ways you want to, as long as you don't, that in and of itself, it can't possibly be a crime. If the IRS wants to tax you, they need to go, they need to do the research. Why is everybody forced to keep track of their own doings, and self-report to the government about, I mean, what? It's like crazy. You want to know how much money I made each year? Well, either you're going to have to just let me tell you what I want to tell you and believe me or not, or you're going to need to do the research yourself. Why are you compelling other people to do the research for you? Everybody has to send us your information. Why do I have to send you anything? You're the one trying to tell me you want my money. I have to keep track of how much money I make so I know how much you have to give you. Are you serious? That doesn't make sense. It's time to repeal the income tax amendment, I think. Frankly, we should repeal it. And time to say no. Actually, federal government, you have to get money the old-fashioned way from the states, because you are, after all, the federal government, which means you're the government of the states. You're not the government of the people. My government is California. I don't love California's government. I don't think it's like the smartest, best government ever or anything, but that is my government, and I am a citizen of the state of California. They are my sovereign. The federal government is supposed to be my state's sovereign. You're supposed to be California's sovereign, not my sovereign, federal government. And I respect you as California's sovereign. As my sovereign, you just end up, I mean, the daily ass rapings are just a little much. 30% of everyone's check in Social Security? Come on. Why is it such that the federal government takes so much more of your money than anybody else? I want to be paid for making YouTube. Neither of us is getting what we want. I've spent countless hours creating on YouTube, and I am barely any more compensated for it than you are. 1, 2, 3. I guarantee you it. I got like your $76, I think, last month, something like that. Yeah. Well, I tell you what, federal government, you asked for it. I am going to TE Rachel Lapalosa through the disability shit on it, Social Security, and you're going to start paying her $2,000 a month. What do you think about that, MFers? If you feel like stealing everybody's money, might as well redistribute it to people who have disabilities, quote unquote, Everything's fucked about the federal government's involvement with shit like that. El Lobo Feroz. It's a mess. It's a mess, It makes me want to go, like in Italian. Well, you know what? Under a Strauss administration, America's no longer going to work so much by keeping everybody working. It's going time to begin keeping everybody twerking. It's going to be the twerking years. 2020 to 2024 will henceforth be known as the twerking years. I'm going to attain the Democratic nomination in the broker convention and wherever it is, on the platform of I twerk, you twerk, let's twerk. Forget all this conflict. Forget all this strife. Everybody get crunk. Let's twerk tonight. That's my campaign slogan. Everybody get crunk. Let's twerk tonight. That's the way to get elected in America. Everybody crunk. Everybody crunk. Everybody crunk. Ridiculous. Lyrophagical. Absolutely ridiculous. Completely, intolerably, absolutely, completely, intolerably, absolutely, completely intolerable. That's a lot. That's a lot of tolerableness. Let me grab some Nietzsche. Just 1 second. Let me grab some Nietzsche from my pipe because I'm going to smoke some Nietzsche. Just 1 second. Going to smoke a bowl of Nietzsche tonight. I like smoking Nietzsche. Roll them up and crumple them up and put them in my pipe again. And I like smoking Nietzsche. Everybody likes smoking Nietzsche. Nobody likes smoking Kierkegaard. Everybody likes smoking Nietzsche. Nobody likes smoking Kierkegaard. Everybody likes twerking peaches, and nobody likes twerking Kierkegaard. Kierkegaard. It's a nice word, right? Along with parallelogram. Kierkegaard's in the parallelogram. Yep, Kierkegaard's in the parallelogram. Yes, Kierkegaard's in the parallelogram. Lyrophagical. Lyrophagical here, Lyrophagical. He's hanging out with Kierkegaard. Yes, Lyrophagical. He feels like he's in a pickle. Lyrophagical. He is hanging out with Kierkegaard. Americans assume it's L-I. I think because there isn't often letters. I, A, O, back to back. English language, right? Well, O is pretty common. Like poo or boo or schmooze. Schopenhauer. Kierkegaard. Soren Kierkegaard. Soren Serpenhauer. Soren Schopenhauer. Kierkegaard and Bowenhauer. Got the Plato and molasses, smoking Nietzsche in your asses, and the Schopenhauer. Kierkegaard can't touch this. Twerk for me, Kierkegaard. Twerk for me, Schopenhauer. Twerk for me, Kierkegaard. Twerk for me, Schopenhauer. I want to see Kierkegaard and Schopenhauer have a breakdancing battle. I'll bring the cardboard box and the ghetto blaster, and I'll put on top billing. MCMI people call me milk. When I'm bursting up the time, don't get no milk. Miss knows billing, not more billing. What more can I say? Top billing. Nothing better and got it good. And if you understood, then you move on. But then ain't that. If your girl's rejecting your girl, I slap. Yeah. Ain't nothing like the audio too, y'all. Top billing. Yeah, there's a lot of times when I sound like Obama. I can do Obama pretty good. Like sometimes I accidentally do Obama. You know, this America is a country where it makes sense to work hard and get ahead. And there are those out there who want to challenge these ways. We're not going to let them do. That's one of his techniques. Another one of his little fade out things that I do periodically. He does kind of like a gentler variant of this. The thing I do periodically. And you know, he did a mild variant of that. But why would we go along looking at all these people and thinking, I don't know any of those people, and I never am going to know those people for as long as I live? Why would we do that? I don't know. You can be your spokeswoman. You can be my spokeswoman. We can make this happen, people. I believe in every single on your view, watching every single live stream that you do, and 8 cameras has 2 humps and you. I'm gonna choose some. I'm gonna choose some. I'm gonna choose everyone. I'm feeling kind of a mixture of varying degrees of meow, chow, and chow. I'm gonna include some chow in there as well. Chow is a lot more dramatic than your plain old chow or meow, obviously. Don't walk in front of me, I may not follow. Don't walk behind me, I may not lead. Don't walk beside me, I may not swallow. Don't walk in front of me, I may not sheed. Don't walk near me, I'll put you in the face. Don't walk near me, I'll kick you in the balls. Don't walk near me, I'm Albert Camus. I like a big, big, big circle of poo around me. I don't want to experience people in my personal space. I'm Albert Camus. I've got a large circle around me. Okay, I carry this long stick for a reason. If you get in this circle within this range of this stick, I will smack you with it. I shit you not. You stay out of my circle. I'm Albert fucking Camus. I wrote that book, The Stranger. Everyone thinks it's super cool. Everyone's like, Albert Camus, wow, your book, great. So that entitles me to a simple circle of space around me. Now you stay out of my circle. Albert Camus was famous for doing that. Yes, my name is Albert Camus. And if you don't know what to do, then I wonder why you would call me Sue. 'Cause my name is Albert Camus. If you like to Camus with me, then your name must be Albert to see. 'Cause I'm Albert, yes, I'm Albert Camus. Ah, yeah. Ha-cha-cha, Albert Camus. Albert Camus, what you gonna do? Albert Camus, cover your face in poo. Albert Camus, come here and twerk on me. Albert Camus, you're leaving now. Albert Camus, what do you do? I think you're cool with your Albert Camus. I think you're cool. I want to see you in the swimming pool. I won't undermine you again. I know that your Albert Camus will win. a handsome fellow, but I can't go near you 'cause you got a circle. If I get inside of it, you lose your mellow. I'll work a move, got a wide circle of space. Doesn't mind other people getting up in his face. And then in comes Kierkegaard. All of a sudden, our coon gonna lower his guard. Yeah. Schopenhauer came around town, said Camel Kierkegaard, put on these gowns. It's playing doctor time, 'cause I'm called Schopenhauer. That means inspection time for the next 42 hours, yeah. Go into Schopenhauer's sex dungeon. He's always saying that humanity is a sin. Spent 2 hours down there in the dark, chained up to Camus and Mark, wondering if maybe Kant would show up. You are a virus, a despicable shame. You are, after all, humanity's name. Better to destroy you, says Schopenhauer. Then he gets a big paddle and we're hurting for an hour. Schopenhauer sex dungeon. Give me a louder beat. I need to get that louder beat. The beat's not loud enough. Louder beat. Gotta put it in the mix. Got a louder beat. 'Cause the beat's not loud enough. Louder beat. Gonna make some beat soup called borscht. Gonna borscht. Incoming like horse. A walrus mustache. Need to drop the beat. Get on board. Chicken and feet. Hey, look at me, he's got the clearest definitions of the functions. Look at me, I'm an ESTP, slaying puss and just every time I cry. Just seeing Joseph's topology impresses me. How could it be so wrong? Did he try intentionally to fuck it up royally? Or was he just incompetent beyond belief? I didn't get talk of slaying the books. I should, 'cause though I'm laying in pussy, I'm not interested in slaying pussy at all, because I am more religious and that. Nevertheless, I'm an ESTP, cause C.S. Joseph has taught me, and he charges the most for all of his attention. It's gotta be the best. I wouldn't want to get detention from my nemesis, who's right about me being an ESTP, namely C.S. Joseph. Yeah, the end. Okay. Yeah, I'm so top stuffing, and I'm here to say, I'm here to rap, I'm not here to play. So stop stuffing now in your way. You better step back. Talk to the hand, talk to the stove, talk to the stop, talk to the stove, talk to the stuffing. Then you will see I'm so top stuffing. You ain't like me. I'm so top stuffing. I'm so top stuffing. Yeah. Pepper. Put some pepper on my stuffing, then I'll never have to eat stuffing without enough gas. Yeah, your pepper is super bad. I got some peps. Pepper up your stuffing. Pepper up your stuffing with some peps. Eric is an ESTP. I got some peps. Pepper up your stuffing. Pepper up your stuffing. Got some peps. I'm grinding peps. I'm so top stuffing. End of the beat. I am so top stuffing though. Matthew, up and down like an 80 band in clouds. Move my shoulders up and down because I'm naughty by nature. The intimacy of all of my moments means I'm a very sensual guy. I got intimate moments inside of my pants and intimacy in my eye. Yeah, intimate moments is my name, and I'm playing with the top stuffing's game. I'm also with Grandy Pep, with a trio of rappers. You know, I bet. Yeah, I do. I bet that for sure. Yeah, I'm still thinking what you're talking about. You don't know whether we're here or not. We're totally here. We're sending it to you. I'm so stop stuffing, and how you do. Looks like you could use some pepper, G, on top of all that intimacy. Perhaps you too, so stop stuffing, please have some pepper. Ha, 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 to pepper. Pepper, 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 I'm grinding peps. Yeah, I'm intimate moments, intimately. I'm totally seductive and sensual, see? I'm fierce, I'm loving, I'm touching, I'm moist. I like to have dip toilets in my moist. Yeah, my name's Intimate Moments. I'm totally fine. I like to have fun and rap for a long time with all of my friends like those tops up in here. And also Grandy Peps, who's totally rad. Yeah, I like including intimate moments in our rap trio. He is a very positive guy. I'm okay, and you're fine. You're doing great, and I like you. I think we're all having fun together. Now, come on, let's twerk. I'm okay, and you're good too. In fact, you're really great, Sue. I think you're nice, and you're good, and you're fine, and you're wood. Would you like to play with me? We're having fun tonight. I'm on the stage, and I'm rapping. Fun tonight. We're so stop stuffing here. Fun tonight. I'm friends with Grandy Pep. We're all good friends. We like to get along. Here I am. I'm intimate moments. Let's have tender intimacy. I am fierce. I like you a lot. And don't be afraid. I respect you as well. I won't make unauthorized touchings on you. Not at all. I don't want to do that kind of stuff, y'all. That's for the mall. And what I mean by the mall is corporate America, which is obviously bad. You'll note that I don't have any brand names in my clothes, because that would make me too sad. Yeah, I'm intimate moments. Go vegan, everybody. Intimate moments. I'm loving the organic lifestyle, because I'm intimate moments. Would you like to come up and join us? We don't mean to be exclusive. I'm intimate moments. We're serving omelets in the back. Egg white for the non-vegans. Okay, no meat, but We are serving omelets. There's some kombucha that I made at home. I brought it for everybody. I don't want to be, I'm just somebody just like you. You're welcome to try my kombucha. I got some delicious organic meat substitute hamburgers. If you want to try some after the show, we're having a little barbecue. Anyway, thank you all for coming tonight. I'm Intimate Moments, and I really want to thank Stop Stop Shopping and Grandparents here for participating in my my rap show here. What do you mean your rap show? I'm putting pepper on that motherfucking crap because I'm grinding pepper and I ain't having that. You call it your show, Intimate Moments? No, this is Grinding Pep Show, yo. What you mean it's your show? I'm so tough stuffing. I ain't having none of that, no nothing. I ain't taking all your ego crap because I'm so tough stuffing and I'm wearing the hat that says the girl who's in charge, the one who rap fast, the one who is in charge of the rap test. You got to adjust my sidekicks. Now get in the back and go lick my butthole. I'm so tough stuffing. Lick my butthole. All right? So tough stuffing. Go lick my butthole. Because I'm so tough stuffing. Well, she got us there. Yes, she did. I hate to tell you, Intimate Moments, we did. I put some pepper on her butthole before I licked it because it's not so gross, yo. So, pretty dramatic turn of events there at the end. Pretty dramatic turn of events. What in the world happened? Wow. It's like everything turned to the last minute and stuffing took over the group. Before you knew it, Granny Peps was licking her butthole but putting pepper on it first. Crazy. It is over now, yes. It's over now. Thank you, Zandy, for your wonderful purchase of 2 tickets, one for you, one for 1, 2 free. You and he on a date. You got front row seats, too. Front row center. The whole time I was rapping, I was looking right at you. I was pointing to you. You were taking pictures like this. You're like, oh, my God, it's Granny Peps. I peppered you a little bit. I peppered you. I mean, it is true. The following is true. Look, don't you want to have a president who can freestyle a little bit? Don't you think we should? Don't you think America deserves that? America deserves a president who can freestyle. Hey, hello, for Rose. Oh my gosh! I'm so glad you came here to share your birthday with us. That makes me just go like this. How turgid. How coquettish. Would you say that's a coquettish face? I mean, I think America deserves a president who can freestyle. Imagine this. Let's say all of a sudden the international community comes to its senses and they start holding rap battles between the various world leaders. Do you want America to get embarrassed? This is America. And right now, if this starts happening right now before I become president, America will get its ass kicked. Who's going to win that rap? Who's going to win the world leader rap battle right now? Freestyle rap battle. Which world leader wins the freestyle rap battle in the status quo? It's a good question. I didn't get to hear. You missed out, dude. You blew it. I didn't get to hear. You blew it. You could have gone to the show with Zandy. Instead, she's walking home with a T-shirt that says, I was there. I got peppered by Granny Peps. Excuse me. Hey, I found bacon. Not when I was on stage, you wouldn't. Maybe everybody else, sure. But not when I did it. Kim Jong-un? Okay, Kim Jong-un might. Yeah, okay, fine. That's fair. Kim Jong-un wins the, I see that, the World Leader Rapping Contest. The World Leader Freestyle Rapping Contest. I can't hang with Eric in a rap battle. He's too old for me. All right. I mean, there are advantages in being old and rapping because there's like a more evolved form of cool than there is for younger people. You can access various narrative modalities that don't really work if you're younger. In other words, you're not expected to be quite as up to date on the rap style, and you're more of a novelty just by being. And as a consequence, Everybody plumped my bulge. Yeah, rap battle is. I mean, I think if you were to specify a specific one number kind of contest that is ENFPs has a biggest advantage in, it would be freestyle rap battle. It wouldn't be debate. It would be freestyle rap battle. We're the most clever, surprising, on the fly, able to make cutting things, today's cutting things. Okay, I am so tired of you being cloggy, Mr. Cloggy Pants. Are you tired of being clogged with clogging resins? I am. I'm the inventor of the declogger. It's this thing right here. Just $19.99 gets you one declogger, plus shipping and handling, of course. I take real American paper clips and unfold them into a large L in order to make our patented declogging technology. So if you're done with clogs, I'm done with clogs. Ugh. Can you imagine the beginning of this commercial, like, I can't work. I'm so done with clogs. Are you tired of clogs? Would you like to purchase a declogger? Yes. Yes, and that was it, Cedric Beachy. You exhausted your random question on that one right there. What's the risk of asking a free question? You just cost yourself the question. I've already answered it. Yes, and I just answered it. Cedric really messed up there, huh? He had a chance to ask me a random question, but instead of just doing it, he asked me, can I ask a random question? And naturally, I said yes, and that was it. I just answered it. Well, I couldn't. That would be, the universe would break. If I said no, then it would create a logical fallacy because obviously he was able to because, I answered it. So I was wrong. Yeah, I don't like being wrong like that. Does not compute. And then I would break if I had said yes. Cedric Beachy, I tell you what, I'm going to allot you one more random question. So go ahead, and if you feel like throwing one out there, I will allot you an additional random question. One time only. Next time, that's it. You ask that question, you get that answer, and that's it. Now, this one time only, I'm going to allot you an additional question. Fun is fun, no fun is no fun. Agreed. Medium fun is which? Covert gold diggers? Who are the covert gold diggers? ISFPs? That sounds right. No, ISFPs don't like surprise. Yeah. How will I get X group's vote? I'm not trying to get any group's vote. I'm trying to talk to each individual in the country, not as a member of any group. I'm saying, look, let's all forget about our groups and let's focus on what's best for the country. I want to make the best decisions for the country, regardless of whose ideas they are, regardless of which side it seems to represent or whatever. I want to talk with you as though you have legitimate positions, regardless of which side you're on or what your positions are, and discuss how it is that we can make we can rate the course, There's something that is Cedric Beachy, that's not a random question. Here's the thing. That will never work is something I have been told many times in my life. And I no longer believe people who tell me that. Here's the difference between a action deliberator and any other type. Action deliberators basically have the approach of, I'm not interested in explaining how I'm going to do it. I'm not interested in countering pre-objections because I know how I'm going to do it. I will take advantage of things people give me. In other words, I'll be intellectually opportunistic. It's funny when you talk about SE dump. I never thought about this before, but ESTPs are opportunistic. They keep their eyes peeled on the world and take advantage of opportunities. ENTPs are opportunistic. We keep our ears peeled in the world and take advantage of opportunities. I understand that the way I'm going to accomplish anything is going to utilize things I find on the extroverted metaphysical field, things other people put on the metaphysical field in front of me. That no conversation occurs in a vacuum. The closest thing to it is a political advertisement on the TV. It's like a conversation that occurs in a vacuum. But even that, I'm convinced I can win that because I believe my NI thing is sufficient to disrupt the norm. Like, Trump's very good at kicking the SE anthill. I believe in my ability to topple a massive construction of intuitive assumptions that needs to be toppled and rebuilt from the beginning. INTPs think that they can explain everything in terms of like Belinsky or Berinsky or whatever his name is. Belinsky. Well, I forget what his name is. He explains the reason why people are stuck with evolution or attached to evolution through individual motivations, concerns about their career, basically subjective biases or subjective interests that make it such that evolution is stuck where it is. Whereas I believe I see it more correctly when I say, no, the reason it's the way it is because there was a critical moment in history when it set the frame of the matter. And that instead of recognizing in that moment that you're talking about things evaluated on different metrics and that we need to critique evolution on the metric that it purports to uphold on. In other words, at the moment of the Scopes monkey trial, humanity should have argued against evolution on the grounds that it didn't fulfill its burden to affirm. We were excited about the notion. It seemed like kind of a cool idea, but it just didn't make sense when you scrutinized it adequately, and it didn't establish itself. It didn't make clear what its mechanism was or how that would work. It didn't withstand any mathematical scrutiny. I mean, Darwinian evolution has been completely tossed out the window. There's nobody who makes any claims any longer in the scientific community that Darwinian evolution is a real thing. So when I say evolution is bullshit, the first thing people go is, no, it's not. And what they're talking about is Darwinian evolution. I say, no, evolution is bullshit because of, and then they think they're talking about Darwinian evolution. They're insisting that evolution is true. They don't even know that the scientific community has completely abandoned Darwinian evolution, tossed it out the window, and come up with all these extremely complicated feints and smokes and mirrors to avoid explaining anything. It's interesting how Darwin argued for evolution and was married to a Rachel, and you are arguing against evolution or dating a Rachel. As long as they are not appeal to authority, correct, Matthew Alistair. I do not see authority appealing. Aren't you considerate about the vast video that can be used against you in running? Think of the wind negating the evolution. No, I'm not worried about that. If people are saying those things about me, then I'm doing a great job. Also, obviously, I'm relevant enough for people to attack. It's great. My point is, I'm going to turn all those attacks like I always do. It's just a matter of the only reason I won't definitely instantly become president and no problem at all is because things aren't determined by the truth. But the reason I will have a lot more success than people anticipate is that the truth is nevertheless a pretty powerful element, and the ability to convey it effectively is as well. The ability to sustain people's attention is important. The ability to be interesting and compelling and different is important. These things are things I bring to the table. I'm a candidate who wants to be in the spotlight as much as possible. So most candidates, they have to be shepherded by keepers in terms of their public engagement, because it's always a risk point. For me, I want as much public engagement as possible. All I need is enough inertia to have a few reporters contact me. If I can get people who want to engage with me, enough people who want to engage with me that I can be kept busy engaging with people about the subject, then I will feel perfectly happy and successfully create good impacts rhetorically, narratively in the world by interacting with all of those parties, no problem. And there's a quality about me, I think, that happens with people who listen to me for a little while, is this sort of, wait a second, maybe? It's like at first, people see me, they jump to conclusions, they think whatever they think. They find the notion of me being president laughable. How are you possibly going to do it? You talked to me for a little bit. I'm not quite sure how, but maybe, and there's a good reason for that. You, El Lobo for Rose, are making me very jealous. I have to say, the Spite Monkeys did successfully hurt me. They caused some harm on me in one particular area. And Tori, if you ever watch this, you can relish the pain you caused me with this here, okay? You can think about me suffering and rub your hands together with glee, because this one did hurt. I had to send Spacey's signatures back to him. I miss them a lot, because I was just right now, before I took a nap, which was before I did this, I was going to record some music, and I had such a problem because the headphones I have are just like those little earbud headphones that have a very short cord on them, and I was like, oh God, I miss those headphones. It's things so much easier. So yeah, I had to send Spacey his headphones back, obviously, because they're his. So it's not fair for me to keep them. I would be interested to see what you would do if you were present. Present where? About what? Do what? About what? I think about getting some headphones, but I'm not sure if I want to spend the money on that right now, because I've got expenses and stuff coming up with Rachel's move. I got to talk to her and figure out that stuff, and man. Well, I mean, that's the thing. Look, Mrs. Mom, it's not going to be the case for quite some time, I'm sure. And it's never going to be the case that I stop talking about those people, because that's just how I operate. It's like I'm Rachel Lapalosa. That we'll talk later. Okay. I like that idea a lot, actually. So What was I about to talk about before I got distracted by that? I'm completely lost my train of thought. I don't remember. That brand probably. But the thing is, Rachel, we'll probably have to go try them on. The most important thing is I need headphones that are comfortable on my ears. And we won't be able to know that unless we go try them on at the store. We're going to have to go like Best Buy or something like that. It's like a bathing suit. You wouldn't want me buying a bathing suit without you trying it on, right? Headphones are like a bathing suit for your ears. I'm going to take a break over here for a second, smoke this cigarette by the door, and stretch my legs a bit. Can you guys chat amongst yourselves briefly? I'd appreciate it if you would. Well, I mean, and the thing about the video question about like, aren't you worried about getting blasted with your old videos and stuff? I haven't said anything I regret saying. I mean, not that I can think of anyway. Like in general, I'm very careful about what I say. If people want to quote me, as long as they don't quote me totally out of context, it should be fine. But additionally, there are things I do and realities about me from my past that I want to normalize. Most citizens in America have done drugs at some point. So why would we want to have this weird rule that drugs exclude you from the presidency? Isn't it a citizen's democracy? I am a citizen with a totally moral set of behaviors and positions on things. And I smoke pot. And I used to be a meth addict. And, you know, I take amphetamine salts for my ADHD, which I admit, like, I don't believe in ADHD, but I do believe in taking Adderall, and that's okay. And it's one of those things I want to normalize. Nobody can explain to me why it's not okay. Even if it costs me an election or something, it won't cost me. It'll still normalize it. It'll still change the conversation, you know? Baby, don't feel bad at all. The thing is, the one thing, Rachel, is, well, I'll talk to you later. It basically, probably you're going to move in here, but my dad is he feels as though he won't know. Not that it's necessarily irrelevant, but it's like for him, the world should stay the same until after the long-term care insurance issue is resolved about April 1st. And so, thing is, you're gonna almost for sure move in here. But when I said if it were to be possible to get an extra 2 weeks, in other words, send her back and bring her back 2 weeks later again, would that make you feel more comfortable with this whole thing? And he said, he was like, yeah, that would be, if that can happen, that'd be fantastic. So if that's going to be possible, then anyway, don't talk to your dad about what I'm saying here right now yet, because I need to talk to you more. But yeah, you're coming here on the 18th. Neither my dad nor I feel as though you are being dropped off on our doorstep. What I feel as though is I'm trying to trickily get you out of a place that is different, I guess, than ignoring. I should have realized from the get-go. Like when you first were here, I was trying to call them to talk to them so you could go back home for a while before coming out here to live with me. And I was unable. Check out what CJ just said about Frank James reading your name out loud as CJ mentioned you. But just tell me. I don't know. I don't want to check it out. I'm in the middle of live streaming. What did he say? I'm glad. So, you listen to TWFP? Who? Frank James mentioned TWFP? That's cool. What did he say about it? Someone else brought it up? I wouldn't go for Beats by Dre. No, I think that those are very overpriced for what you get. I mean, if you're going to get expensive headphones, get like really good ones. The thing is, well, what's Frank James talking about in his live stream? Maybe I should live stream about Frank James's live stream. Let's see. I'll critique Frank James's live stream as it's going on. It sounds like a fun activity. I keep not finishing trains of thought. That's one of the problems with live streaming, is I always feel like, God, what was I going to say? I got sidetracked again. It's sometimes the chat takes over, and I just can't deal with it anymore, baby. And it makes me feel super sad.
You can do some fake FE. You know? Ella, bye, Frank. I gotta go for now. Love you. Well, bye-bye. Glad you've been here.
Hi, Frank James.
Melissa, thank you for the super chat. Does anyone know why my super sticker?
I wonder if this is going to get me copyrighted or something.
I don't know. But something's working because you're posting this. But thank you for the super chat. I'm sorry, I don't know what's happening. Maybe it's could it be the browser you're using? No politics in the chat unless you're going to be talking about how great my president's.
No politics in the chat.
I had wanted to do more of a debate.
So Frank James has a no politics in the chat rule. Interestingly, let's see what else is going on.
Robin asks, would someone with FE look more like an FI user if they live with FI users? I mean, I think that's a good question. It's like when someone is raised with different functions, with people, a family of different functions, you're not going to look like an FI user, but you might be raised to think, value FE, I should value FI. But
yes.
The problem is that
correct.
Your wiring is going to say, no, I should.
Correct.
Your wiring is going to be using FE.
He's totally right about this.
Oh, this isn't as
I'm surprised he gave the right answer. I don't know why I'm surprised, but I am.
I can't say for sure, but I think that both of my parents are extroverted thinkers, and
ooh, so Frank, I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, it is.
Feeling in general was not to be valued, and that I had to look at the logic.
Well, I know what I'm going to do. Okay, I'm going to continue doing this, but instead of listening to it like that, where it's going to clutter everything, I'm not going to send him $5. You can send me $5. I'm live streaming about him. You know, the hell I'm gonna send him $5. Like he needs my $5. No, Frank James, you can't have my $5. I ain't gonna super chat you. Hey, as if. Why is this on the floor? When I find an Adderall on the floor, I am really not happy with myself. That's called being super unnecessarily careless. I'm not going to lie. It's the truth. Frank James. There we go. Piao and Cheer. Let's see what he's saying. We'll find out now. I gotta send him shit. Send him something. Someone sent him $1,200. For God's sakes, why? I would be like, please do not send me that much money. Seriously. Let's see. He's singing a song from Newsies right now. Do you see the nice background that he has? It's a whole New Mexican. Yeah, must have a green screen. Oh no, he's gonna have a. How does he do that? How does he do that thing right there? He's doing right there with the copyright claim coming up. I mean, I turned off the volume over here relatively quickly. I hope I don't get a copyright thing. I don't think I will. You're robbed from the Nook. Well, I robbed Torn Nook. I don't know what that means. Well, how can you still hear the audio? How can you still hear it? From this? How can you possibly hear it? You can't hear it. It's not even playing on my computer. You hear it from this little thing here? From where? From what? Can you still hear it? Are you sure you guys aren't listening to it in another thing? Can you hear it now? Okay, good. Let's see. It's hard to live stream when I'm listening to his live stream. It's like I don't really have a whole lot to say about commenting so far. It's interesting enough to keep my attention instead of just riffing off of it because it's NI. It's interesting observation. No, they're not adaptable. That's dumb. The ENTP comment. They're not adaptable. That's dumb. No, they're not, Frank James. They're not adaptable. Since when do SI DOMs? When the SI DOMs are when are SI DOMs adaptable? Never. I go from extremely disagreeable to extremely agreeable and back again before breakfast. Frank James is cool. I like him. He's good at being a YouTuber. He's a successful YouTuber. I could listen to this. It's not like fantastic or anything, but it's not like, it wouldn't be fun to be in the chat on that for sure. It's not like this. In this environment, we're interacting with each other on a regular basis. He's just got this steady stream of chats everywhere you go, you know, just like pow, 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 pow. I don't really got it. Listen, I mean, I'm talking in the chat too. I'm writing chats and stuff, so you know. Do you give twerking lessons, Frank James? Question mark. Because I'd be willing to pay for twerking lessons from you. From you. Hey, don't unsubscribe from me and subscribe to Frank James. It's not fair. It's not zero sum, okay? You don't have to get rid of one that just because they have another one. My ISTJ guy as well, at I found. Do you have an ISTJ boyfriend, Dandy? I thought you had a different kind of boyfriend. Didn't you have some other kind of boyfriend before? Did you change boyfriends? Is he really your boyfriend? But why do you call him your guy? Because he's not really your boyfriend? What did I do? Why am I in trouble? Who got me in trouble? Oh, because I wasn't paying enough attention to you? My bad. You're really upset? Question mark. I'm really upset you haven't answered my twerking question. Period. I'm not ignoring you. I'm paying attention to you. We'll go to BS Joseph Army now. Uh-oh. Yeah, well, maybe you need to ask yourself, why aren't I giving Eric twerking lessons? You aren't giving Eric twerking lessons. You see how much chest hair he's showing? I am looking here at this video. You can see it. Look at a little miniature Frank James hair on my phone. I want to show because I might get a copyright strike or something like that. Who knows? How do I socially engineer my INTJ dominatrix girlfriend? What do you want to socially engineer her to do? I want to know. Have you ever seen the rain? Well, see, Rachel and I both need to take twerking lessons because that's going to be the formal first dance that we do at our wedding. it's going to be a twerk. We're going to be in the middle of the room, and you know. It's hard to listen to both you and TWFP since I found Bacon. It's hard to be both TWFP and listen to him, Bacon. So I totally feel you. I totally am feeling you right now. You know what he should do is he should make a stream about me making a stream about him making a stream. That would make sense. He should open up this stream in another stream. Okay, well, just chill the fuck out, everybody. Chill the fuck out. All right, just because I want twerking lessons from Frank James. Okay, fine. Maybe I'm a little bit of a fanboy. Maybe I want twerking lessons from Frank James. Maybe it was incautious of me to just come right out and say it. And I'm sorry about that. And hi, Frank James. I'm doing fine. Thank you. I'm sure you're not watching my stream concurrently, but I do hear you and I am watching your stream. I'm not going to answer in your stream, though, because I'm answering here on my stream. Yeah. I'm going to put it here. You should open up my stream in a new tab and then stream about me streaming about your stream. 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 For God's fucking sakes. Fucking voice to text. STREAM, motherfucker. Anyway, so I don't want to steal his subscribers. I am just interested in the ideal meta, which would be him responding to something I was saying as I'm responding to what he's saying until we get into a time tangle. I'd like to get into a time tangle, and I think that's fair. I already feel like we're entangled because I'm listening to him as I'm talking, but I know that if I'm gonna do color commentator here. I'm gonna be the play-by-play commentator on him. Okay. All right. So Frank is looking at the camera. He says it's a basic thing, a theoretical thing. Here we go. What do you like? What do you like? Extroverted feeling. But that does not determine it. He's pretty smart. He's right, you know. You got to look over time. You got to see, does he do this way all the time or does he manage? Yeah, you know. Go ahead, Frank. Let's hear what you have to say next. I am streaming about your stream right now, and I'm going to do play-by-play of your stream. He responds now to John. Says people can use both FI and FE. Fascinating. What we see here is Frank James responding to the claim that people can use both FI and FE by passing away the straightforward answer, which is nuh-uh, and replacing it with more complicated and accommodating answers. Note the excellent FE in place. It's wonderful, wonderful job, Eric. I'm going to change the title of this stream to read Streaming About Frank James's Stream. That sounds fun. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You got the idea now. You do. You finally understand. I'm putting it right now. Play by play of Frank. Play-by-play. Okay, here we go. So I'm doing play-by-play, okay? Here we go. Great idea. Thank you. Here we go. Let's see what he's doing. Welcome, friends and fans, to Talking with Famous People's play-by-play announcement of Frank James's live stream. Here we go. He said, here we go at the same time. He's claiming that ISFPs should go to Mostar, Bosnia and Herzegovina. Why it would be that ISFPs would like to go there, let's find out. Point 1, high diving. They stand on a bridge and jump off of the bridge into the water, thereby indulging in their FI and their SE. Wonderful insight, Frank, wonderful. You're doing a great job. Let's find out. All right, he's segueing. He's segueing to be particularly relevant to Americans. He says what's interesting to Americans specifically. He's excluding part of his audience, but perhaps he's going to wrap it back around and be more inclusive. Let's find out. Now he's referencing some relatively recent history, a smart notion. He's perhaps anticipated that people will still think that Bosnia and Herzegovina is a war-torn hellhole. He correctly corrects everybody and says, no, that was a long time ago. That's no longer the problem there in Bosnia and Herzegovina. Let's find out what else he's saying. What up, Frank James? Can somebody say hello for me? So I don't have to type into the thing. I'm doing play-by-play right now, Frank. Please don't bother me. I'm in the middle of doing play-by-play of your live stream. All right, let's find out what happens now. He is looking more if he were to travel. Fascinating. Let's take a moment to talk about his excellent use of the subjunctive mood. He didn't say if I was. He said if I were. Somebody's asking if Frank James is saying he's ISFP. Let's see how Frank responds. He doesn't respond, and instead he simply moves on to recap his central point, which is, if you're an ISFP and you're looking for a vacation spot, please, please, please travel to Bosnia Herzegovina. That's fine. Now he's pausing. He's staring. He's got that handsome, chiseled face, looking out at his woman viewers, wowing them with his blue eyes. The sunset behind him, the palm trees, the sand, the black chair contrasting against the blue sky. Wonderful work. Amazing job. Oh my Lord. Who is that hideous monster behind him? Somebody get that hideous monster off the screen. I don't know what he's thinking. I was just admiring his incredibly handsome, chiseled young face with his blue eyes and his 5 o'clock shadow. And lo and behold, what happens? He has changed the image. I much prefer looking at the beautiful background, and he did say yo. Hey, Frank James, you are messing up my live stream. I'm doing play-by-play of this live stream. You've broken the fourth wall. Now what are we going to do? Too much extroverted sensing. How dare you call it extroverted sensing? This is totally extroverted intuition. Oh my gosh, Ken Krishna Sarmapagood is here. You better close that. There you go. Good job. All right, so Frank's back on the job now. He's back on the job, and I am back on the job as well, doing play-by-play of Frank James's live stream. Let's see what's happening. I'm going to do always good with the manners. Frank James thanks a super chat provider. Frank is baffled. He wants to reread it. He's not sure what the person's getting at. Okay, so Frank's covering the big five extroversion versus MBTI extroversion distinction. He briefly, I believe it's called timpling your hands in this fashion to indicate that he was thinking about an intellectual matter. That's what this indicates, okay? They are more likely to be happy, he claims. Extroverts more likely to be happy, introverts more likely to be sad. Add them together, you get a storm cloud of hot and cold. Wise words from Frank James. Now he's scratching his head. He's rubbing his fingers through that rich, long, full head of hair. So youthful, so exuberant. And he briefly touches upon the subjective and the objective. Interesting. Shies away from the topic, getting into it in depth. Probably wise. Let's find out what happens now. You'll note none of the Frank James viewers have come over here to experience the play-by-play of the live stream they're watching. I don't know why. I am currently doing play-by-play announcement of Frank James's live stream as he live streams. You can hear what's happening. It's like, this is basically, if you don't have a TV, you need to hear the radio broadcast of Frank James's live stream. That's what I'm doing for you, okay? This is the radio broadcast of the telecast. I mean, the simulcast. Okay, so now he's talking about the excitement of the system. How exciting is it? Yeah. Okay, if you're going to imagine what he's looking like right now, I'm going to paint the picture for you. He's in a black chair. He's got black hair. He's got a red shirt on. He's got a tropical background behind him. And briefly, he sat very much like this. Like this, like a man who was thinking, like a thinker. It was a moment. Now, he was really stressed out by bringing up this live stream. It was just overwhelming. He's easily overwhelmed. Being an INFJ, he needs to know. And adding too much dynamism into the system caused him to be disrupted. He was deep thinking. Yes. Okay, here we go. He's talking about me again. Thanks, Frank. Appreciate that, Frank. But I got to tell you, you're kind of messing up my play-by-play here by talking about me, though. It took me to play-by-play you talking about me. Frank James says I disagree with him on typology. He gives me respect. Well, thanks, Frank James. I respect you too. I do. I mean, I wouldn't. He should date an ENTP. It's true. You know what? I got an ENTP in mind who he could date. Becky. Becky would be perfect for him. She's an ENTP girl. Yeah, he did. Thanks, Frank James. That's nice. But look at my number of people. It keeps going down. It's like, what's happening here in this process? People are leaving here and going to Frank James's video. Wait, this is backfiring on me. Wait, hold on. All right. 19. Okay, he tricked me. Yeah, I know. He tricked me. That's INFJ magic, right? They praise you and they draw all of your viewers away. Wonderful. Thanks a lot, Frank James. I guess it's fine. After all, I have FE instead of T as a priority. Oh, it's totally worth it. I got some praise. He is. He's the modern Jesus. Right now, he's talking about Greece. He's saying INTPs. We got a lot of INTPs in here. Where should you go? According to him, you should go to Hydra, Greece. There's a picture of a boat on some water. He's got a cup of coffee or something in the coffee cup. He's drinking from it. right now he's looking triggered. He's looking triggered, or he's reading something that's triggered. I don't know. His chest hair is Effie Tool. His chest hair is Effie Tool for sure. That's a manly chest hair, right? Ladies out there. But have I mentioned it's International Women's Day? Have I mentioned that? It is. It's International Women's Day. And Frank James is my gift to all the women of the world on International Women's Day. Okay. So yeah. All right, so what's he doing now? Let's find out. This is basically the radio broadcast, Taylor, of Frank James' stream in case you don't have a TV. Stop being so desperate and horny, Can. Archangel, you know what, Countess, will you stop being so abrasive all the time? You are as abrasive as a piece of sandpaper. You know, you can see that, like, you can see the there's this thing that INFPs do where there's a moment where they go, when they're like, and you can almost see them in their head. They're realizing the scope of the whole and how they're going to have to cheat on NI to say anything. I like that. You can see it, and they do, but they're hesitantly do. He's doing the good shit, yeah. Such INFJ advice. Don't try to hold them to your stuff. Try to hold them to themselves. To tell them to uphold their own values, stuff like that, right? My girlfriend is INFJ, best sex ever. I agree with that right there for sure. To cheat on NI is to give an answer to something that knowing that the whole is preclusive of a real answer. It's called living for INFJs. To live is to cheat on NI. He's reading the live chat at the moment. He's got his lips pursed. If you can't remind an IP of them wanting to do it, it's not going to work. Good advice. Hadn't thought about it. Had not thought about that. Carbon dating is useless? Why is carbon dating useless? So you make them disappointed in themselves. I love those mind games. It's a quote from Frank James, which is basically he's saying, well, look, if you need to try to motivate somebody, convey to them in a way that they think they've discovered that you're unimpressed by their behavior and trying to protect their feelings about it. If they feel like they've discovered that, then they're going to feel ashamed of themselves because, after all, you didn't try to change them or do anything. They've intuited on their own that you didn't really approve or something. And so that's INFJ kind of approach to things in the world, you know? Cloud's here. Hi, Cloud. I hear you are advocating the Frank James as an ENFP. Today's demonstration of cognitive function wrongness. I care, Frank. I care. It's okay. He says other people don't care, but I care. You're a bender? Is that called bending people? I like that term. Frank's Livestream is cool, but too feely for me. Yeah, Frank James, your Livestream is too feely for him. My Livestream is more logical. You can tell. Internet trolls. Does Frank James have internet trolls? I don't know. He probably has somebody who's in charge of moderating and stuff, you know? Okay, he may have them, but did they really try to plump his balls like they do mine? Because my trolls are real balls plumpers. They go hard. They don't just fuck around. You know, I'm going to have to end this right right now, basically, because I have dinner with my dad at 6. So I didn't realize what time it was. It's already 5:55. I'm going to end this live stream now. I want to thank everybody for being here. Don't forget to eat plenty of cheese. And if you do, please try to eat at least twice as much cheese tomorrow. And if that's still not enough cheese, then eat more cheese until I find my mouse, which now I have found. Goodbye, good luck, and good love to you. I embrace you with truth. Here's a special bit of fairy dust and magic for you to take away for the coming hours. Apply it to your thing, apply it to your stuff, and make you know that everyone's enough. It's a little magical spell for you. It's good luck charm, basically. It's like a goodwill. Pew, it's like a Glade air freshener that puts out the periodic like, except instead of putting out of just toxic stank, it's actually of good NI vibrations or whatever, NI meowiness. Goodbye, good night, sweetheart. Good time to go.